What's going on? It's your boy, DameSmiff, and we're out with another episode of Late Night at Dames. So I think today it's time we cover the, I guess you can say, girl side or woman side of being in the friend zone and what that really means, right? So to piggyback over our last conversation, a lot of what we talked about was being the guy in the friend zone. And the reason that's important for musicians and why we are covering that on this channel is that the relationships that men and women have, or the dynamics in relationships that men and women have, is important to the music industry because it shows you how we can collaborate and cooperate, but also what to think about when we interact with one another, whether it's in the studio, whether it's on stage, or how people view us in music videos or working together in business and things like that. So, for the most part, when we're having this conversation, it's really going to come from the place of understanding the dynamics, not necessarily putting a stigma on whether or not you should do a certain thing because you're grown, more than likely, if you're watching this video as an artist, and you're going to do what you want to do, right? So, what we're going to cover today, well, actually, I'll give you more of a rundown. So, the first part of this, I guess you can say, was the guy's version of this, which is if you're a guy in the friend zone, what becomes of that? Like, what do you get for being that, right? And so most of what we covered is that the dynamics are set up a certain way if you are the guy in the friend zones. And then also there is not only a stigma to it, but there's actually a bit more of a, I guess you can say, negative persona that is tied to being the friend zone guy. And I don't know if that's, outwardly placed. Like, I don't know if the friend zone guy feels a way about being so, or if people feel the way about the friend zone guy. But all we did in that episode was essentially just walk through and kind of cover what becomes of being the friend zone guy, right? And so now we're going to take it to where, well, what does it, or what becomes of being the girl who has a guy in the friend zone, right? And the reason this is, again, important for musicians is because there are a lot of situations where if you're a woman in the entertainment industry or if you're a spouse in the entertainment industries, you're going to have to navigate these dynamics between men and women, but without proper, let's say, vocabulary or understanding or identifying of these types of relationships and associations, you can find yourself confused on the decisions you have in front of you, right? And so it's important to lay that out because the being the friend zone guy conversation wasn't really to shame guys for being friend zone guys. It was kind of to show you that there is an actual occurrence, or I guess you can say result, to becoming a certain type of person and choosing a certain lifestyle and position, right? So what we're going to look at today is I'm going to give my opinion on people who participate in this, just like I did with the male video, I guess. And then also I'm going to show you and identify a lot of what it is that makes this a cultural thing, a social thing where people want to do this, right? So essentially, for, I guess you can keep it to entertainment. When you think about women in the music industry, a lot of the quote unquote friendships and associations they have usually come with some sort of utility, right? Whether it's J-Lo dating a background dancer, whether it's a superstar rock star dude, dating a groupie. It really comes down to the utility that the person has in the industry, right? So it can be access to jobs, it can be access to people, it can be access to equipment and resources and things like that. It can be money, it can be, status, just the fact that you're nearby a certain name or a brand or things like that, right? And so these associations bring value to the people that provide these associations, right? And what that means for the friend zone conversation that I'm holding here is that for guys, that may work if you're the friend of, let's say, a powerful woman in the music industry or something, right? But after a certain point, you're going to look like the friend of the powerful woman in the music industry. And that has a certain result, right? And so we're going to look on the other side of this where you can be the woman who's trying to make friends in the music industry. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the music industry, it can be in general. But the key thing here is that now we're going to switch it over to how you navigate this, or how women have navigated this, being the person who is, I guess you can say, placing people in the friend zone, or needing people in the friend zone, or finding utility of people in the friend zone. Because not everybody does it with actual utility, like I'm explaining. Like, there's people who do this and it's literally just because they like the person. And so just like the guy being in the friend zone, that can come with certain results that you may not want to deal with when it comes to the overarching story you call your career in entertainment, right? So we're going to take a look at a bunch of funny little videos and things like that. And a lot of it is just tongue in cheek. So you can really just see what the general sentiment is around how this lifestyle works. Now, this is not a lifestyle I participate in, or a lifestyle I would generally, if I were to sit and think about it, I wouldn't encourage this to my female artists and associates. Like, if you're in the music industry and you want to participate with the opposite gender, I would try to keep it as professional as you can at the highest level, because of what the stigma is on the other side for the men that are in the position that you're placing them, which would be the friend zone. Okay. So it's just a thing where the dynamics between men and women have to function a certain way, but at the same time, you have to respect the true results that come from participating in that dynamic. You can't really try to change it. Okay. And so that's the part that we're going to talk about. And again, just like the guy side, it may be a little bit triggering to hear some of the things you might actually believe, some of the things you're hearing, or disbelieve or disagree with a lot of the things you're going to hear. But the point is that these are things that are in the atmosphere. It's in the aura of the entertainment industry, because we are just men and women here trying to do this at the same time, right? So let's get into it.
There's a man.
So the video starts off with her saying, it seems misogynistic that there's no masculine version of the word mistress. Now, the mistress conversation usually comes from guys cheating on spouses and girlfriends or whatever, right? I think it's very specific to just wives. But the thing that I think we're going to start to dive into is that the opposition people are going to have with, let's say, friend zone relationships or this kind of like lifestyle is really going to come to equalizing one another. That's usually the way I see it whenever I try to learn about this kind of stuff. It's usually people that see men and women as equals that are usually the ones that want to try to participate in this or advocate for it.
In the military, there's Jody. Jody is the man who is sleeping with your wife while you're away on tour.
Okay, so it says Jody is the name of a man who's sleeping with your wife while you're away on tour in combat. So that's actually a common trope you hear, at least in my generation, in movies and stuff like that. But the few real stories that I've heard about that, they were pretty extreme. So I don't know how common that is. But so the name for a guy that sleeps with the wife of a veteran that went on a battle tour is called Jody.
Combat. And the term originates from black culture, and it was originally called Joe the Grinder, and eventually it became shortened to Jody. In Hispanic culture, there's Sancho, and as it was described to me, Sancho is the man hiding in the closet when you come home early from work to see your wife.
Okay, so this is actually the more domestic version of the male mistress, I guess, if that's what this girl is talking about, right? So the Sancho, this is the Hispanic culture, and this is the guy who's in the closet hiding in your house after or waiting to sleep with your wife. Now, this is the part, this is why it's the female-centered version of this conversation. How did Sancho get in the house? Right? And so when we think about the previous conversation about the guy being in the friend zone, how many guys have been Sancho, right? And it's not necessarily me sitting up here saying, people who are Sancho are evil. It's more so that the detriment and volatility of being someone like a Sancho doesn't help you if you're trying to be the superstar entertainer here. And that's the point here on this channel, right? So the girl you would be messing with as a Sancho, you really are placing yourself in a vulnerable position, right? So taking it off of that conversation, because we've already had that conversation, now we got to move towards the wife. How did this man get in the closet, right? Most people are going to say she, clearly invited him in. But a part of it is that there is at least belief in her mind, or a misunderstanding or a misalignment in what role Sancho is actually playing in her, I guess you could say, household in this example. Sancho's not here to benefit her, not here to benefit the husband. He's not even here to benefit himself in the long run, other than just, intimacy or sex at the end of the day. But when you think about how you get placed into a position like that, again, becoming the friend zone guy, there is a lot of responsibility in terms of the woman placing you in that position or accepting you into that position. So Sancho, that's a new one. I have never even heard of that.
Now, the term is believed to have originated from Cervantes' novel Don Quixote because the sidekick is named Sancho Panza.
Wow, Sancho Panza.
Another term that was more popular around the 40s and 50s is gigolo.
I've heard of gigolo, but I've only heard of gigolo from the movie Deuce Bigalow. And so the 40s and 50s, I guess I can say my grandparents were probably like children then. That's crazy.
And gigolo does not necessarily mean infidelity. A gigolo is simply a man who is being financially supported, typically by an older woman, in exchange for specific favors.
Oh, so a gigolo is where the older woman is giving financial support to a younger guy.
That person could be married or unmarried.
Oh, okay. And the guy could actually have a wife. So this would be the version, I guess, the version of this where there's a female Sancho. Well, I guess Sancho wouldn't be paying for the wife anyway. So no, there wouldn't be a Sancho. This is interesting. So the gigolo could be just, because he didn't mention anything about sexual things. So it could just be an associate, like a boss, a female boss, or in the instance of the entertainment industry, this could be like the lead singer of the group or something like that. And because you're younger and she likes you, she's just paying for things like bills or, your wife's shoes and gas money and stuff like that. So that would be a gigolo. That's crazy.
A term similar to gigolo that's much older is Cicisbeo. And a Cicisbeo, originating around 18th century Italy, was a paid male escort to a married noblewoman.
Oh, okay. So this is a paid male escort to a married noblewoman. So if you were to say this and switch the genders, we would just say this is a prostitute. This is just a hoe. That's what we would say today. So a paid male escort to a married noblewoman. So this is a high-ranking woman who's paying a guy to either walk her around the things and things like that.
Because at the time, it wasn't fashionable for a man to escort his wife to social events.
It wasn't fashionable to escort his wife to social events. Now, I wonder why that is. That's actually something we could probably explore in another video, why it wouldn't be fashionable in 18th century Italy to walk around with your wife in social events. And I think the reason why is because of how this dynamic here between this woman and this man here, the Cicisbeo, I think that's how you say Cicisbeo. The way this dynamic works would be dishonorable if you were to see it play out in person, which is why it's not fashionable. What I mean by that is that the guy who is in the friend zone with a bunch of other girls can be a very, I guess you can say, high status or attractive dude in terms of, like, let's say he's a nobleman. If he's like a nobleman with a lot of resources, he's probably just cool with a lot of people. They don't want to have relationships with him, but he's cool. It probably can get awkward if, like, you're side hugging or church hugging a certain woman and your wife is in the room. It can get awkward, right? So I guess to mitigate for that, their decision culturally was to give the wife a man to escort her throughout society while the husband, the nobleman, is out working.
So a Cicisbeo would accompany women to things like the theater, to church, and to parties. And while this relationship was ostensibly platonic, it wasn't uncommon for them to turn intimate over time.
Okay, and we all saw that coming. Now, here's the part about the friend zone thing that people are probably going to have the most, I guess you can say, polarizing perspective on. He's saying it wasn't common for them to turn intimate over time, but this is specifically a married noblewoman, right? So the idea of honor, integrity, and I guess you can say having some kind of consistent principle within monogamy and things like that, whether it's bound in religion or whether it's bound in your culture or your familial beliefs. Do you see how it now flips on its head when she becomes intimate with the Cicisbeo? So similar, and it's a complete parallel, and that's why I'm doing this for you guys as artists and musicians. Similar to the guy being in the friend zone, you now have socially corrupted what people view your morality as, right? Whereas you're a noble woman, you're supposed to be elite, held to a high standard. You're supposed to be a upright person. But then when you have what would be called a Cicisbeo walking with you around, there is the stigma just because of the plausible deniability that something is going on, right? So this is the part where I'm saying most people are going to have contention. Should you have a Cicisbeo? Right? And I said the same thing in the male video. I was like, should you even be the guy in the friend zone, or should you just get your own girl? And again, the guy in the friend zone who would hear that, he's going to be very, confused as to like what he's doing that is wrong, because he's not doing anything technically wrong, like I said. But what are we actually looking at, right? What are we actually practicing if we're not going to actually address this, right? And this is you're gonna see this similar vein throughout my content, but this is just to kind of show you guys that if you want to do something that is quote unquote bad in terms of how society views it, then say you like doing it, so that way you can put a name to it. That's why that girl didn't know about any of these names, right? I've never heard of these things because I don't want to be a male mistress, right? But if I needed a title to know what this is important to understand, especially if I want to make sure I want to be perceived a certain way, I guess I can say. Because there are some women who are married and who quote unquote are noble women and have, high status husbands and things like that, or maybe highly respectable husbands, and their friends think he's cool and things like that. But they will think just like this woman here in this depicted picture that has a Cicisbeo. And like he said, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to turn intimate over time, which would have to be breaking the monogamy principle that you generally would expect of a married woman, right? And so if you want to be perceived that way in the entertainment industry, or with any situation, honestly, but if you're in the entertainment industry and you want to be perceived as a woman who is noble and has high status, integrity, and things like that, and you want to be viewed as a monogamous woman who truly loves her man, should you have a Cicisbeo? That's the real question, because you can try and practice just like religion. Like you can say you believe in a thing, but your test of faith is really on your own path, right? So we can't really prove that you would get intimate with your Cicisbeo over time. But the reality is that it is uncommon for you to do that if you have one. Therefore, you leaving a lot of plausible deniability for the respect of your monogamy to be in question, right? So like I said, it's important for you to understand that, so you can say, yes, I want all of that to happen to me, so that I can understand, so I know what I'm getting myself into, rather than you are friends with a guy because you think he's cool, or you have rapport, or you think you have some kind of like association, and then it happens to turn into something you don't understand, right? And I'm pointing this out again before I move on, because in media, on TV, and in our romance stories and in our songs, we like to act like we don't know this is going to happen, right? We act like we don't see the signs. We don't understand what roles people play in our lives and how we're keeping them there, right? And so I'm trying to mitigate the shock and surprise, so that way you guys can make better decisions going forward. So that's actually the first video done. So let's get on and move to the next one. But yeah, Cicisbeo, Jody, Sancho, those are the names of the friend zone guys that you would be dealing with, ladies, in terms of, I guess you can say, navigating the male gaze. That's actually a big thing you're going to have to navigate in the entertainment industry, how men see you. That's important. And then also you're going to have to understand men ego and respect, because the point really in the whole friend zone conversation that I'm showing you is that it does shift people's perspective of you, whether it's from the person you're with, from the person you're friends with, or the overarching career and industry that you function in. It does really change how we see you. So let's get to the next one.
A lot of women think their man is asking them to be rude, when in reality, he's just asking you to be harder to access. And I hear this one all the time, right? A man tells his woman, babe, you're too nice to other men. And instead of trying to understand where your man is coming from, you immediately say, babe, I'm just being polite. But reasonable men aren't talking about you saying hello to a cashier at Walmart or thanking the waiter. They're talking about everything else that comes after that. Things like turning a 30-second interaction into a 4-minute conversation. Why? Laughing a little harder than you needed to. Asking follow-up questions that keep the conversation going. That's the part your man is trying to explain to you.
Okay. So now we're going to start getting into the polarizing part here, right? Because what she's explaining can be a thing for a lot of men, right? So this is where how did Sancho get into the closet conversation? This is that part, right? How did Sancho get into the closet? Well, we have to think about what type of person is attracted to you. Yeah, like as a woman watching this, if you're a girl, step over, guys, move away. To the ladies watching this, what kind of Sancho is attracted to you? And I think once you start to identify that, you can now understand how, if you have a boyfriend or if you would like a boyfriend, how that guy thinks, right? The guy that wants to keep you and protect you and claim you is like, that's my girl. What attracts him to you, right? And then I want you to think about, what is Sancho like about you, right? So this part right here is usually very controversial, because the things that both of those men like about you are probably the same. So the don't be a friend zone guy conversation really ends right there for Sancho. Sancho really has no reason to, not be in the friend zone, because he likes you, right? So he just wants to be around something he likes. This is where you're now getting into the conversation that this young lady is talking about. Well, she's older than me, but this lady is talking about is that, how does your relationship now get affected when Sancho is now entered the room because he likes the same thing that, quote unquote, your boyfriend likes, right? And what that now looks like is, well, at least I'm explaining from your boyfriend's perspective. What that now looks like is competition. And so the reason this is going to be very kind of like polarizing for a lot of people is because the girl isn't doing anything wrong, right? She just, quote unquote, being a nice person. Sancho's technically not doing anything wrong because he's just being given access, right? And the husband is technically not doing anything wrong because he's just feeling something, right? He's, quote unquote, suspicious. But again, should you have a Cicisbeo or a Sancho, right? And that part right there is the part that makes this very polarizing for people, because having this happen feels like nothing is wrong. Being a participant in this feels like nothing is wrong. And then for probably the boyfriend or whatever, you're generally telling yourself nothing is wrong. She's gonna be my girl the whole time through. She's not, no, there's no way, not my girl, right? That's what every guy says, right? So this is where you shouldn't really make the guy your friend zone guy. I guess you can say point. I'm gonna figure out how to title this, but this is where that angle comes from. At that point, you're basically inserting a certain result to your relationship, right? And so to push this towards musicians, right? You can be a female lead singer in a band and you can have all male musicians, right? And already some of you are probably like wincing at the idea of that, but you can do that. But now you have to think about, what does that look like, right? What does that get me? What kind of result does that get me? And navigating that, you probably don't want to do. You probably are like, man, why can't I just do what I want to do and like what I want to like? And that's the point that she's going to highlight here. Why can't you do what you want to do and like what you want to like?
Because from your perspective, you're just being friendly. But from his perspective, you're giving another man access that you don't even realize you're giving. Think about it like this. There's a difference between opening the door for somebody and inviting the person to come inside. Both actions start with kindness, but only one creates familiarity. So a reasonable man isn't asking you to become less kind. He's not telling you to be rude. He's asking you to become more reserved with people who don't need access to your warmth. Because courtesy opens a conversation, but interest keeps it alive.
So now, because we're talking to the ladies, fellas, I know a bunch of fellas is like, yeah, she's spitting facts, yeah, word up, bro, yeah, right? But you got to realize how a lot of girls probably heard what she said. I'm just guessing, right? I'm just guessing. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm just a dude on the internet with a little microphone, right? I'm going to guess that the way y'all just heard that was that you're going to have to figure out how to navigate not only your man's ego, but every man's ego. I feel like that's how y'all just heard that. Let me know in the comments if that's how y'all heard that. And give me put like a smiley emoji to let me know if I'm right. And give me like a frowny emoji if I'm wrong. If you're like, no, I heard it differently, and then tell me what the difference is, right? But the reason I'm saying that is because you have to believe what she said. That's the part that makes this work. Is if you don't believe what she just said, like if you think that if you can just be, quote unquote, like she said, talk to the cashier for 4 minutes for no reason, and your dude won't feel anything, then you don't believe what she just said, right? So now, if you're in a situation where you don't believe what she just said, but you're a friendly person and you have a lot of friends and things like that, this is where you're going to have to test yourself, not anybody else, but test yourself. Are you getting the results in terms of association from people that you think you should? Like, are people respecting you the way that you think they should? If you want to get specific, does your boyfriend treat you the way you think he should? Because I'm really getting to the point that this woman is telling us that if your guy sees you doing this, he sees you behaving a certain way, you will be treated and viewed a different way because of what he sees you doing. Now, if you want a certain result, or if you want a specific outcome, should you continue, right? And that's the part that you're going to struggle with, because like she said, if you literally are just a friendly person, especially if you are single, like if you don't have a boyfriend, it's like, why should I change, right? That's why I said you probably heard what she said a lot differently. But the point is that you want a specific result. And in this result, in this video, I'm not even talking about making your boyfriend happy. I'm just really talking about being able to control your image, you know, because this is what I mean about, I like the name Sancho. It's just funny to say, but this is what I mean by Sancho technically isn't losing after he likes you, right? All he has to do is like you, right? Because if he likes you and you like him at all, then everything he does is going to work. Because just like your boyfriend, you like your boyfriend, you give your boyfriend probably a lot of, I guess you can say, breathing room in terms of grace, right? Maybe he can be weird. You probably seen him cry. You probably seen him angry. You probably seen him make mistakes and things like that. Sancho is in a particular position where if you like Sancho, he can get all that grace without having to actually be the boyfriend. So he's not doing anything wrong. But the only reason he gets that access is because he has been given the access. He can't take that kind of access. And so what you then do is you now put your boyfriend in a position to now view you as somebody who has now given what he believes he should have entitlement to someone else. Like I say, if you don't believe that and you think it's something different, then you're going to get a certain result, and you got to be honest with what the result is, right? If you don't believe that and your boyfriend's acting funny, then that means something is not aligning with how you see your boyfriend and yourself. If you do that and nothing's gone wrong, then it's probably better to have the conversation just to be sure, just in case, your boyfriend's not bottling it up or something, right? But sometimes it's not a conversation people want to have at all. So should you even do it? Should you even take a step into that arena?
And a lot of conflict happens because you see courtesy, but the other man experiences encouragement. And before you call me a pick-me or pick-misha, let me just clarify something. I am not saying that you shouldn't talk to other men. All I'm saying is that there are levels to attention. And if your man keeps bringing this up, don't just defend your intentions, okay? Ask yourself, what am I communicating that I don't mean to? Because people don't just respond to what you mean, they also respond to what you consistently signal. So sometimes your partner isn't reacting to your intentions, he's reacting to what everybody else can reasonably see.
Yeah, and like I said, you have to believe what she's saying in order for you to be able to go through all of the, I guess you can say, troubleshooting she went through. Because let's say you haven't done this yet. Should you wait until it happens to see your boyfriend frowning in the corner to be like, oh shit, now we should have the conversation? Because I'm laying this out just so you can understand it, right? And this is something, again, I'm tying it to musicians because this is something that if you're a female artist or an entertainer, you don't even need a boyfriend to go through this. You can do this and your fans will do this to you. They will see you differently because you're giving access to, let's say, a particular other artist or maybe a certain director of music videos. If people keep seeing you work with a certain person, keep seeing you taking pictures or smiling or taking selfies, and it doesn't seem like it's up and up on the professional side and y'all just friends, he might look like a Sancho to your fans. He might look like a Jody. And so if you want to be of a female entertainer and then keep the image of not having, let's say, a Jody or having this kind of resume of relationships and things like that, then you have to really take into account, like she said, not only the attention, but the consistent signals you're sending to your fans and your audience and things like that. So here's how I would navigate this. If you heard this stuff and you're like, man, this sucks, this is dumb, I don't like this. Well, here's how I would navigate this. If you are let's say you're an artist and you signed to DameSmiff Records and I'm your manager, right? Here's how I would tell you to navigate this. There's a guy, probably that is a great candidate to be a long-term relationship. And I would really be honest with you and say, do you see yourself being married with kids? Do you see yourself just, being in a long-term relationship and just kind of working on your career? What is it you really want, right? And then we would break down everything you would say you wanted out your face, right? Just everything that comes out your face. We'd be like, all right, cool. We'll write it all down and kind of make a cool little vision board. But then I would kind of test just through questions. This would just feel like, I don't know, we'd have breakfast or something not during this conversation. And I would just ask you okay, we're about to go to the Grammys in about 4 months. We plan to be there in 4 months, right? And your boyfriend wants to go on a family trip the month before. He thinks you have time to do that and meet all the rehearsals for the Grammy show. What is your decision, right? And this is where I'm going to see whether or not you're going to be about the music industry, about yourself, or try to find some sweet spot, right? And this is important to understand because as your manager, I'm here to help you have a thriving career throughout your decisions, right? So if you then say, okay, if my boyfriend, and this is why I'm saying it now in terms of you being an artist, being signed to a record label, because if I asked you this and there was nothing on the line other than just a corporate job, a lot of you would give up the corporate job depending on the guy, and a lot of you would give up the guy depending on the corporate job. But I'm placing it here for musicians because this would be I guess you can say more of a passion project. Usually if you're writing music, you're emotionally tied to it. It's got a sentimental value. So it's not really a corporate thing. This would be like giving up your apple.com domain or getting your family type of decision, right? So if your answer to my question of whether or not you would commit to working for the Grammy performance through and through, find balance with your family, or just literally take the risk of missing the rehearsals, depending on what your answer is, will determine the outcome that I believe you would get as a manager, right? So if you say, all right, I want to be able to see the family and then I'll just play catch up with the rehearsals, I'm going to tell you that your career is going to be tainted by bad review, bad, I guess you can say, optics, right? That's what you're going to be tainted by. So we would write that down. And that would mean that what your fans are going to say, because I think the part that people miss is that your relationship as an entertainer is to your fans, and your family and things like that is a relationship that is generally separate from the music and career, right? Unless you monetize that. But what your fans are generally going to say is that you have decided to sacrifice time to practice and rehearse and get better at your craft in order to be a family woman, which people generally aren't going to knock, but they will knock you in terms of professionalism. They're going to say, wow, you're not as dedicated as we thought you were, though we are understanding of you being a human, right? That's the reasonable look. The other side of it is you could try to do both, right? Some people will say, oh, let me try and instead of going the entire family visit before the Grammy performance, I'll just drop in a day or two, take some pictures and leave, and then go back to the rehearsals. The way your fans could look at this is that perhaps you are a little bit too career focused. Maybe you're not a family type of woman that we thought you were. And so your fans may look at you in terms of how they identify and relate to you as an artist and entertainer a little bit differently now. The soccer mom who's a stay-at-home mom might think you're more of a boss babe than, more of a conventional wife who has a great career in music or something, or a cool hobby or really niche talent. Now you seem more like a boss babe, an entrepreneur, a businesswoman. So we would write that down. And the last thing would be that you just straight up just don't go to the family trip and you just focus on your career. The fans could view this, and I think this is the more, I guess you can say, variable way. The fans could not even notice because they might not even care that you have a family at all. So they might not take a ding at all. They might just see this as the value of whatever the performance was. But at the same time, if they know all of this stuff, that you have a family and you decided to not prioritize your family, then the way they perceive that is going to change, similar to how I just explained. How they relate to you is going to be different. How they probably relate to your decision making and songwriting may be a little different. And it can be something as small as like you look happy and the family doesn't on Instagram when they take a picture. So something like that can draw a whole bunch of speculation and articles and blog posts and tweets and things like that. Now, the reason we would lay all this out during breakfast and this conversation is because as a manager, if I let you make this decision and not explain these outcomes to you, personally, I would feel wrong in that you probably didn't want the certain outcome that you got, right? It'd be like making you sign a contract I know you didn't read, right? So now when we see which decision you generally would make, like as a snap decision, like, oh, okay, I would just pick this one just because it feels good, then we can generally have expectations, right? Maybe we won't bank on the Grammy being the biggest marketing promotion for your future album. We'll try to like maybe pan that out after a little bit so that way you can have some time for your family and things like that. It's thinking artist focused, right? With the, clear understanding that the industry is still going to move, right, very quickly. So you would be able to do that, but then we would have to navigate again how you feel about the decision, because that's very important about artists. You want them to be comfortable and happy with it. I would personally hate for you to be like, oh yeah, you know what, you right, I'm about it. I'm about to go to the Grammys. I'll tell them I'll skip that thing, and then you regretting it because now you seeing your kids miss you or something, right? I would still feel bad about that, right? So it's important for y'all to understand the decisions you make when you're going into this, because something like going to the Grammys and not going on this family trip, but then we see you smiling and cheesing with a background dancer in like a 1-to-1 photo, you being a friendly professional might not see anything wrong with taking a photo with who could possibly be the best employee on your brand as a musician, but the dynamics of men and women are completely different when you remove all of those barriers, right? And so you have to navigate this just like how men have to navigate if being the background dancer and you have a wife at home and that photo comes out, it would be the exact same navigation you would have to do. So that's why we're covering a lot of this stuff. It's the funny, interesting way to look at male and female dynamics and try to push it into like learning about entertainment culture and things like that. But I'm only able to do this because I was a musician that was able to function in a lot of different ensembles, whether it's marching band, orchestra, jazz ensembles, rap groups, rap, studios, all kinds of stuff, film, all kinds of stuff. I've been like in the background and stuff like that. And the consistency I've seen is that men and women need to cooperate with clear boundaries. And the boundaries have to be clear in the sense of you have to, like I was saying in that last clip, you have to actually believe in the boundaries. You can't just say, hey, I shouldn't cheat on my boyfriend. You have to really believe that, right? That's how Sancho got in the closet. The particular person invited Sancho. They didn't really believe in that. So let's get into the next clip. We have a bunch of clips. I'm up here ranting, so we're going to try and wrap this up soon. So let's get it.
Remember the first time I realized that women do not see the world as we see the world. They have their own struggles, but certain shit don't click to them. I remember I went to New York, to visit my best friend. That's her home state or whatever. And she's telling me like, yo, I'm gonna take you to the real New York experience. I'm gonna take you to the projects. Telling her like, baby girl, I don't need to visit the projects. Take me to the touristy shit. I'm from the trenches. I don't need to visit nobody else's trenches. She like, fuck all that. We having hood rat fun. Whoop-de woo woo woo. So it's me, her, and her cousin. Mind you, my best friend and her cousin are very beautiful women. They get a lot of attention in sweatpants. These motherfucking heifers come out in the skimpiest outfits known to man. Mind you, they don't weigh no more than 135 pounds. Hey, twin, I'ma need you to change that outfit for me and your sake. She like, grow some balls, nigga. About me, I'm not a crash out. I love my life, I love my freedom. But insinuations that I'm scared, it make my eye twitch for some reason.
Okay. He's funny. He's funny as shit. So what I noticed is that this is a common trope, but what I noticed is that he made a great point at the end. I haven't seen these videos, but he made a great point right there where he was saying the insinuation of me being scared is offensive. I'm just cleaning it up, right? But what I'm highlighting here is that this is a friend zone guy. This is for the fellas. This is what being in the friend zone is entailed with. These aren't his girlfriends. He's not in a poly relationship. He's not entitled to these women or anything, but he's responsible for them, right? So his mindset is normal. He's like thinking like, hey, I'm going out with some female friends. Let's go have fun. Let's have a great time. Let's not get into trouble. And so he's thinking like that. Whereas the ladies, because like I said, they're just who they are. They don't see anything wrong with who they are. Like the woman was saying in the previous clip. In this instance, they probably like are just loud and, charismatic and rambunctious. But in general, they don't see anything wrong with what they're doing. Therefore, the results of what they're doing is kind of like what they want. They want to see what comes of their behavior, right? So in this instance, they are calling him scared because he's not wanting to participate in what they think is normal behavior. Like I said, they don't see anything wrong with it. So what he's trying to tell them is that what you're calling normal is only allowed. And it comes from just two totally different perspectives. Now, this is why it's important for me to highlight this. You're now seeing the reason why, A, you should not be the friend zone guy. Make sure you check out that video. But B, you're also seeing why you shouldn't have a guy in the friend zone. Because I want you to just think about if these were three reasonable people. Like, let's say he took out two girls who were chill. And this was more so about like, not just wearing sweatpants in the projects or something like that, or wearing skimpy outfits in the project, but it is about like how you dress and how people perceive you and things like that. As a guy in the friend zone, you can't have this entitlement because you're not their man. Like, you're not literally responsible for them, right? It's not a conversation y'all had. It's not anything you're literally entitled to. And then on the reverse, the women who were pretty much telling him in this instance to not be a pussy and not be scared don't have that entitlement to tell him not to be scared of anything, because he has no reason to protect you outside of just being a friend. Now, a lot of you heard what I just said, and you probably heard two things. You probably heard what I said, and then you probably heard he shouldn't protect them because he's not their boyfriend. And that's not what that means. It just means that you guys are friends. And so this association that you've created with one another is built on nothing. It's built on nothing. So a lot of people, they'll see like, oh man, we went to high school, or we was talking a long time, and we should be like super tight and super tight knit. And it's like, that may be true, but it's only really a spiritual thing. Like, I got people I went to high school and college with. We made music together. We fucking made memories and all kinds of things like that. And in my mind, they are still my friends. But I have to be honest and say, like, it would be foolish for me to think like I could just call them up and be like, hey, come see me in like an hour or two, and I need help, my tire's flat. It's just because the reality is just people change, people, you know, grow apart and things like that. But if I were living in the same, I guess, area as them, if I was constantly talking to them, if I was, you know, constantly keeping up with them and things like that, like probably on the daily or weekly and things like that, that would probably be an easier conversation and easier access. So because these three people don't have that, they really only have probably just the association that's making them friends. They now have realized that their relationship is not really bound by anything. So he's trying to enforce what could probably be like a normal, you know, conversation for somebody who's their brother or their actual boyfriend, but he can't do that. And they're also on the other side because, like I'm telling you ladies, they have a friend in him, like the Toy Story song. They're telling him to do something he is not trying to do for them because he doesn't see why he should do it, because he's placed himself in a weird position as a friend. So they're essentially abusing each other's authority just all around. Now, again, as I explain this, should you have a Sancho, right? Because he didn't mention that these girls had boyfriends and they're just out hanging out. That's another thing guys like to do, is they'll hang out with girls with boyfriends and then be shocked at situations like this.
I fucked up that was, I was like, well, fuck it, let's go. Like, I'm getting mad. Like, I want to show her, like, yo, you think shit sweet out here. And as we get to driving, I'm in the car, I'm driving, I'm like, all right, twin, listen, I'm trying to let you know, you only know the goofy, playful side of me. I'm letting you know I don't go for being violated. I respect my life. I respect my freedom. It's a lot of shit that I can walk away from. But with you but to put me in, I already know this shit gonna go left. Look at me, she like, you done? And turns on twerking music and begins to twerk inside of the car.
Okay. So you see what I'm saying? So it's a weird situation. Like I said, I'm gonna speak from the guys and the girls' perspective. The guy's perspective, he put himself in this friend zone position to be disrespected like this. Now, the only reason it's disrespectful is because he literally just told her something and she's not listening. Like, it's not even the point of like her decision anymore. She's just not even adhering to him feeling like he's in danger. So that's one thing. But then the second thing is that she can't see how, because he's in the friend zone, he is trying to treat her like a boyfriend to protect her from herself. And that's the dangerous part, right? So when we go back to the Sancho example, right? Can we see how the wife in that example could be putting herself in danger by inviting a man to hide in her closet, and then that man then gets discovered by her husband? Do we see how dangerous that is, right? So she's unable to see how dangerous that is because, like we said, being in the friend zone feels great. They probably had like cool conversations. She probably don't see nothing wrong with, you know, how they talk to each other and stuff like that. They probably give each other a whole lot of grace in terms of respect, right? Things that you would never go for a wife or girlfriend or for a boyfriend or husband. So that's the point here about like why you really shouldn't be trying to be the guy in the friend zone, because you can't exercise actual respect. And a lot of husbands know that. They know that if their wife has a Sancho or a Jody, that she's not really respecting the guy, which is why they're okay with doing the sugar-free cuckold version of allowing her to have a boyfriend and things like that. But generally, being this guy doesn't look cool. It looks really lame to other guys. So this is the result he gets. He gets this. And then he gets me judging him, right? For the girl, she has to deal with the lame guy. She has to deal with the guy that's quote unquote scared to defend her, and the guy that's trying to actually really he's right, but it's still how she views it. She views herself dealing with a weak guy. She's about to be put in a dangerous situation, that of which could have been avoided if she respected the guy she's with. So again, as the female, I gotta ask, should you have a Sancho? Should you have a male friend?
To the projects, never been to New York projects. It is 1,000 people outside. It's bikes everywhere. They playing basketball at.
Now, I lived in Syracuse and Utica, so I ain't been in the New York City projects, but I've been in the ghettos of New York State.
Nighttime, it's pandemonium. It's crazy. As soon as we get out the car, they catcalling. As soon as we walking around, they trying to talk to him. She like, come on, let's go to the bodega.
Okay, so that's the first flag right there. And this is the part that I think this is why I'm having this conversation with just the ladies right now. He's explaining to you the very disrespectful behavior that these women have to endure. And I'm saying it that way specifically because he called it catcalling, right? Some women don't like catcalling. Some women are okay with catcalling. But the part I want to show you guys is that as a musician and an entertainer, when you're building up a persona and a status for yourself, especially as a female artist, this is what you're going to have to deal with. So to kind of juxtapose this to a musical scenario, this man could be your manager, your producer, and you could have a boyfriend at home who thinks you're going to a music gig. And when you get out the car in your outfit or your performance attire, or maybe it's a meet and greet, you got to do like the red carpet club walkthrough, and you get out the car and this is how the crowd reacts to you. You have to really take in the fact that this is what you want. And that's my point here. You're not the type of woman who detests this and wants to stay away from this. Random men catcalling you, people seeing and ogling at your body and sexualizing you. The guy you're with not being able to protect you, not entitled to you, not responsible to you, and you're out there, right? And I'm saying this is what you want because this is a scenario that he's describing where the women are literally asking him to go to a place, right? And I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt to actually give you an example of being a career woman and having a musical career. So in the situation he's talking about, these are just friends. So this can happen just with somebody you just know because you want to go out to the club or just go shopping one time. But I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt to say, okay, let's say you're a musician watching this and you want to go out to your rapper friends to the hood and get something to eat at the bodega, right?
Get you a sandwich, whoop-de-woo. I'm like, all right, cool. Go to the bodega, come out. It's a nigga in a beater. I'm telling you, like maybe in his 40s, 50s. Nigga ripped. Chest, arms. Like, ladies, I like them outfits on y'all. Y'all looking real good. Like, his eyes big for real.
Okay, so in the previous video, we was talking about how your boyfriend would have a problem with, how you talk to people and things like that, and you're super nice. Do you think the 40 to 50-year-old New Yorker in the projects thinks he's being disrespectful when he was complimenting their outfits? Do you think he thinks he's being a quote-unquote seductive? You think he's preying on them? No, in his mind, he thinks he's doing nothing wrong, right? But if you're a boyfriend watching that, we know exactly what he's doing, which is still nothing wrong, but we still know exactly what he's doing because he could have just kept walking like we all say we should do when we know how men are around women. Right. But ladies, when you heard what he said, what do you think your response would be? You're at a late night bodega. Let's say it's like 9:30, 10, not that late, but it's a late night bodega visit. You're with your manager or your producer guy who's not your boyfriend, and your boyfriend's at home, and a 40-50-year-old muscular bound tank top wearing black dude or Mexican dude or Puerto Rican, since we're in New York, starts complimenting you on your outfit, saying he likes your outfit. What's your response? Let me know in the comments.
He like, can I talk to one of y'all? Like, can I get y'all a number? They like, thank you, but you know, no thanks. This nigga start following us. He proceeds to ask more like, yo, like, I'm trying to talk to y'all. I said, bro, they said that they good. This nigga look at me, reach around me, and grab my best friend arm.
So, I want y'all to pay attention to what happened here. Y'all probably heard two different things, right? Ladies, you probably heard two different things just now. You probably heard a damn near horror movie where somebody said no and got damn near attacked. But you know what I heard? I heard a situation that could have been avoided. This is a situation where, what did y'all think the guy who's in a tank top late at night at the bodega talking to you really wanted, right? Now, the following part, he didn't mention, and we're just going to guess. I'm going to assume he's the only one that noticed that they were being followed by the man that they were talking to. So, when I showed you the "you shouldn't be a friend zone guy" video, two things happened here that we saw. And I'm still on the first part that you might have heard, but the horror movie thing that people's probably running through their head here is that he was basically aware of danger, right? He was being a vigilant man and looking around, right? The thing that he's telling us, though, is that this guy was completely perceived as a threat from the beginning. Like, when he seen the guy, he was a threat. But now he's in a situation where he has to confront the guy up ahead, right? The other thing that you guys are hearing, which is the second part of this, and this is depending on your perspective, you probably heard a situation where you think that he, as a friend, failed to protect the females he was with. But I want you to look at it this way. Consider both perspectives, but I want you to consider that he's not in a relationship with any of the women he's with. He doesn't want to be there. And the guy that's talking to these women knows that too. So just keep that in mind, because a lot of times when we see this conversation, we want to talk about like, oh, I should be able to be nice to people. Or if you want to be the 40-year-old dude and you can be like, why can't I talk to the ladies? They single. He not their boyfriend. Why is he mad? Right? Right?
I damn near simultaneously grabbed his arm and I said, didn't I fucking say they was good, nigga?
So this is why you don't want to be the friend zone guy. This right here. Because you're not the guy that gets to say this. And this is the polarizing part, because the ladies see this as like, well, why would I bring him out if he wouldn't do this exact thing? If he wasn't going to defend me or protect my honor and things like that, why is he my friend? Well, he tried to do that in the beginning of this example, where he was telling the girls, let's not even go and perhaps dress a certain way. But because he's not their boyfriend and he's not entitled to that kind of authority, they decided to follow what felt good, which is their freedoms. They have the right to do so, but they're in a predicament now, right? So I'm only highlighting this because if you're a musician and a female entertainer and things like that, you can find yourself in positions like this, but you want to be able to avoid this a lot of times, because again, this is not random. Like, people don't just get attacked at random for being in a certain outfit, right? If you look up, because I'm actually doing a video on this, if you actually look up how a lot of these occurrences happen, it's circumstantial in that you're close to people like this. So I'll talk about a part of it now. There was recently an influencer that was shot and killed in Houston, right? And it was about I think they said 5 or 6 gang members. Now, some people would say, man, that's messed up that she got targeted by gang members for basically being a popular pretty woman. But the thing that I think a lot of people aren't addressing is the environment that pretty woman placed herself into, right? She herself was not into gang life. She herself was not into criminal life. But this idea that people are working in the entertainment life, where there's all of this flashy jewelry, flashy lifestyle, and provocative resources, i.e., women's bodies around, the attraction and attention you get has to be clear. And a lot of people, for some reason, think that weirdos and crazy people aren't attracted to very nice things as well. And that very nice thing could very much be your legs. It can be your outfit. It can be your boobs. It can be that handbag, that nice car you're driving, right? So the protection that you have before you is really and only in control through prevention. After that point, you can't really do much else other than just deal with what's in front of you. So they passed all the prevention, right? As a friend zone guy, he couldn't do nothing. And as ladies with the friend zone, they didn't believe in the things that he had to protect them from, his authority. They didn't believe it. So hopefully throughout this, they actually wind up believing a lot of the things we need to worry about. But because that to be the case, we have to keep in mind that they asked to go to the projects where it's a low income area, which means there's a lot of crazy people. And they're not crazy because they're poor, but crazy because they can't afford the resources to stay sane. So a guy who's probably 40 in a tank top at the bodega following two women with a guy, more than likely he doesn't have a girl that's consistently giving him intimacy. So he's lacking in that resource, right? So you've now placed your fruits there as a lady. You've now asked to be here, and you placed yourself in front of him, and he has the freedom to talk to you. You told him no, but there's really nothing stopping him from continue talking to him other than force, that of which you now placed your friend zone guy in. So you see why you don't want to be friend zone guy? Now you got to fight some bodega bum for girls that clearly don't respect you. So you're in like a double L.
And rip his arm away. Now, he a OG, he a old head. I'm already knowing them niggas don't like to rush with punches. They more like...
Okay, he's already super green. I'm gonna tell you now. Anybody over the age of 30 is not swinging an arm. They're not swinging an arm. If they're in the 30s, more than likely they're gonna call the cops. It's probably like a 60-40 chance. They'll just say chill and call the cops. Once you get to like 40, they're shooting. You're not doing this whole like, oh, I'm gonna see if I could take him punch. Nope. Swing that first punch, he gonna grab his chin and start reaching.
One hit or quitter. So I'm like, shit, I'm gonna take the squabbles for 500. I'm cool. We can fight however it go, cool. Man's whip out a knife and he...
I told you. Of course he'd pull out a knife. Why would he try to fight you? He knows you're younger and gonna win. But this is what I mean, like, this is completely separate, but he's not smart. He's not smart to be able to like tell what's going on around him. This guy was talking to the ladies. The lady said no, and he followed y'all. At what point did he display that he plays fair? Right? And this is what women be talking about when they say like men don't protect anymore. Like, he clearly is like slow to learn. And it could be just because, like I said, being a friend zone guy, you think a lot of things are okay that aren't. So he's put himself in a situation where now you're in a knife fight with a bum at a bodega at the projects with two women who probably aren't going to be very helpful in jumping this guy.
Dead serious. Like, it ain't no pump faking. He actually on that with the knife, like real, like.
And even the way he's describing the knife makes me think that he still is in disbelief that somebody would have killed him in that situation. It's funny because when I talk about stuff like this, like I said, I was in Syracuse and I was in Utica. When I talk about seeing stuff like this and how like matter of fact it can be, they're kind of shocked. They're kind of like, man, I wonder why you being so dark. And it's like, because it is dark. Like, it is very dark. You could be having a conversation with your homegirls in the car and you can be facing a 4-inch very shiny sharp piece of metal.
My best friend get the plea and cry. I'm so sorry. He did not mean, please don't stab him. It's okay.
Now she's submissive.
I froze me a little bit, but when she said he didn't mean it, that shit woke me up. I started popping it like, man, fuck this nigga. They are, so it's her cousin and her, they both trying to get in between us, push the man away, whatever the case is. I'm thinking, okay, if he swing the knife, I should at least be on the move, you know, just like boxing, give him a target, get out of there. And I got my keys on me, so I'm like, if I probably can get 2 misses out of him, hit him, cool. Listen, y'all, when I tell y'all this nigga was not playing with me, yo. This nigga wanted that knife up in me, bro. Real shit.
Now, this is the other part that I think the ladies don't consider. And this is what the previous clip was talking about. You don't know what you're inviting with your signals, right? Whereas he used, the tank top guy used the compliment of their clothing to be able to figure out how to get them. I'm pretty sure this guy didn't plan on taking them on a date tomorrow after getting their numbers, right? So the threat that he saw was very, 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 very real. But to the ladies, it seemed probably like something that they could survive because they just didn't think anything would go wrong. That's why they just bust out crying. It was like they didn't think to run. They didn't get mad or anything. They just start crying because that was their defense mechanism. So he's put in a predicament where he's got to fight a bum with a knife, right? But the bum never had an intention of being nice to them, being friends with them, or anything like that. And honestly, they weren't even like having a conversation according to this example. But do you see how easily you can get into a situation like this because you just have a friend zone guy and how you respect your friend zone guy?
They was begging this man. He damn near trying to get them out the way. And I'm like, best friend, I need you to move out the way because I don't want something to happen to you for real. Eventually, as we're moving, we get more, because we was in like a dark area. We get more into a lit area with more people. More people start trying to see what's going on. He like, nigga, you lucky I killed. Like he telling me like, nigga, if it wasn't because it was police out there, he said, nigga, I'm gonna get you, like that type time.
So this is why it's very scary to be in the hood, because this could happen and then that guy could come back to that bodega tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And so you see this happen in the hood a lot, and we call it the hood if you're not from the hood. But ladies, we see this a lot where y'all will put your friend zone guy in a situation like this. Could have been a gang situation. This could have been a territory situation. It could have been just this bum could be acting like this just because he sees a black guy. This is like an opportunity. I don't know what is causing this guy to be so erratically violent, but the point is that y'all didn't need to be here, right? But this bum dude lives in an area where this is normal. This is normal to kind of like fist fight. Sometimes shootings happen, they go unexplained. So when y'all see random bodies and shit like that piling up in the hood, it's usually little scuffles like this. People in high school, people in college age, or like this dude's 40 and willing to kill somebody. So there's no telling what he's already gotten away with. So the thing that y'all aren't realizing is that the previous woman the woman in the previous video was saying that you don't know what you're inviting by just being who you are. You don't even know. Just because they wanted to just wear what they wanted to wear, they wanted to see the hood, they wanted to tour, they're now in a knife fight with a bum in the projects. And you and I hearing that goes like, yeah, of course you would be in a knife fight with a bum in the projects at a bodega wearing a skimpy outfit as a woman. But why did they place themselves there? Why did they ask to be there? Should they have a friend that would allow them to do this? Would your husband allow you to do this? Should your husband allow you to do this? And I'm saying allow because them girls just bust out crying when the knife showed up. It's not like they were ready. So if we were to apply this to the music industry, this is usually what you'll see with the and this is what my future video is going to be about. But you usually see this incidence with like Harvey Weinstein cases, Bill Cosby cases, P. Diddy. You'll see people getting into bad contracts if you want to include men and things like that. You'll see a lot of gang initiations and things like that. People getting into RICO cases because of this quick snapshot decisions of like, man, I want to make this decision because it feels good, instead of just thinking for a second, thinking of a certain result. If we all knew going to the projects as a scantily clad woman late at night would wind up you having to deal with a tank top wearing bum with a knife, I think we all would have won the money on that Jeopardy question. I think we would have known that that was going to happen. But for some reason, these ladies asked to be here. And they also asked a friend to take them there. That of which they didn't even really respect to listen to the clear warnings he knew was going to be there. So this is why I'm trying to figure out, like, why do you want to be Sancho this guy? And then why do you also want to be the person who has a Sancho, which is a guy that allowed you to basically be busting out crying, arguing with a bum with a knife in the street? Like, that's a story they now have to tell. And then if they go to get a boyfriend, they're going to act like this situation didn't traumatize them, doesn't affect their relationship, doesn't affect their decision making. And their boyfriend is just supposed to be okay with the fact that they think like this and had this happen to them. So should you even be in these predicaments, right? That's the key thing we're here. We're only looking at the controllables. It's not like this guy picked him up, drove him there, and left him there and put him in the predicament. This is all things they wanted to do.
My best friend turned around. She like, please, I don't think you a bitch, but I need you to act like one right now. That's what.
You might have to fight the bum just off respect now. It ain't even about them no more. You got to kind of like square with just cause how they view you, because that's wild.
She said to me. So then
we're not friends no more at that point.
proceeded to just make my way to the car. We finally, because the car was far as shit. We get in the car. She damn near crying, and she like.
They think you're one of the girls. Like, when they seen the knife come out, they all thought they was all women. The only man in the room in their eyes was the dude with the knife. He became the alpha. Not only was he probably older than y'all, but he was scarier. So they respected the scarier guy. They're pleading with the guy with the knife. They're not telling you don't kill him. It's a weird thing. I don't know. I don't understand it, where it comes from, where y'all like make the friend guy so soft. Just don't be the friend zone guy. Stop being the friend zone guy.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. You were right. I should have never, and I would never want you to not try to protect me. So I'm dead wrong for woo woo woo. So I'm like,
she would never want you to not protect her, but you're her friend.
That's exactly what the fuck I was talking about. I took from that, yo, if a woman won't allow you to make executive decisions, she won't listen to you, you can't protect her, because then your life becomes less valuable around her. Like, you know what I mean? Other thing is, like, women, they get harassed, they got their own struggles, but they don't go to the gas station and it's tension. A nigga sizing you up. A nigga might want to just take your life because he think you got more than them on some hate and shit. Like, they don't know what that feels like.
They do. I think in general they do. I think most women kind of understand this. It's not a man or woman thing here. I think this is, I'm trying to bridge this to the musician thing, but I think this is more of a being able to perceive a threat thing. Like, there's no like going to the gas station getting sized up. That don't even happen a lot for dudes. But the issue that he's pointing out for the ladies is, should you place yourselves in this position? Because I would like to think, most dudes would like to think that he's smashing these girls, right? He's single and he's smashing these girls, and he doesn't have some girlfriend somewhere while he's hanging out with these two chicks in the projects fighting a bum with a knife. So I would like to think he's smashing one of these girls at least, right? So it really begs the question as to why they didn't respect him the way, you know, you would think a normal person would respect a general warning for safety and things and care. But I don't know. Like I said, the thing that ladies are going to have to deal with is, do you believe the shit people are telling you? That guy told them very clearly that, yeah, maybe you should wear something different. Maybe we shouldn't go. They didn't believe it. They had to see the knife and then fight the ogre in the cave, and then try to tell the guy that's supposed to protect him, please be a bitch. Like, I don't understand the logic. Why would you do this? Why? Please let me know in the comments. Why would you want a friend and a guy instead of just getting the boyfriend?
Yep. Married woman with kids. Not me watching it over and over. Another married woman with kids, and the icing on the cake, Saved by Grace is her bio. Girl, same. I just have to throw my phone away at this point. Another married woman. This married woman actually says that for her, it's the opposite. She's grown more obsessed with her husband from watching the show, and that she hopes that the woman that posted this video can channel that to her man too. She didn't like that comment or have anything to say about it.
Interesting. Okay, so I guess what it is a TV show. It looked like some skinny little dude took his shirt off. Y'all go crazy for the skinny dudes. And so the, I guess, sentiment he has here is, why are all these married women ogling over little skinny son? Well, the real reason is that a lot of times when we quote unquote see a marriage and see a relationship, we assume that the attraction is equal, right? And this is where the Jody and Sancho conversation comes from. There's a thing where you can be the skinny dude dancing in the video, and you can wind up being the Sancho, right? But then on the other side of it, what does Sancho get in return? Well, Sancho usually get women like this. Like, it's not y'all fault, ladies. It's just that y'all really aren't attracted to husbands. Y'all are attracted to single men who you feel are equal, if not better than the guy you are with, right? And that's only just to point it out, right? Whereas the guys, on the other hand, the Sanchos or the husbands and boyfriends, they can like a bunch of girls, but until they actually smash the girl, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, them liking a bunch of girls doesn't mean they have a bunch of girls, right? Or they have like some kind of like super respect for the girls or whatever. So now you're in a situation where you have a relationship where the dynamic is literally built upon how you view the guy, but you're then exposing that you view somebody else equally, if not better than, because we don't see the husband. Like, it's not like, oh man, he's making my husband, look so cool because, whatever. I don't know how you spin that. But because you're not doing that, as an influencer, as an entertainer, as a creator, as somebody who's going to post content on social media, you have now created the opportunity for somebody like this man here to create the narrative of who you are and what kind of thing you represent. So what you're normally going to see now, if this woman were to give her response to this video, she's going to tell us, we don't know who she is. She's really a good person. This is a harmless joke. Why are we taking this serious? We need to chill out. My husband laughs too. He's okay with it. It's not real. You're going to hear all this stuff. You probably said this in your head, right? But the point I'm trying to show you is that, should you do this? Should you even do this? Even if you feel this way about your husband and you want to cheat on him and you don't like him and his penis is small, should you do this? If you want to be the person to say, no, I am actually a nice person and I'm only joking, should you make jokes like this? Now, the American in me says, yes, you should be able to. But the businessman in me and the music industry armchair executive in me tells me that, no, you really shouldn't do this, because there are women out there who cheat on their husbands and they're going to side with you, and y'all are all going to look like birds of the same flock. So if you're a woman who is of upright behavior, you should probably mitigate that, right? And that can be a number of things, right? The first one is, don't have the friend zone guy. So you might want to delete his number, not say don't text me no more, literally get rid of him. And then the second thing would be that these things that you find attractive that your husband aren't, talk to your husband about it. Do not tell me, Sancho or Jody, okay? And I guess the third thing I could tell you is that you should really consider believing a lot of the things your husband is dealing with. I wouldn't say insecure about, because some of that can be fake, but I'm saying, like, if you know for a fact you're a noble woman or a high status person in your job or your network or your community or even your family, just believe some of the things that could happen with the results of your decisions. It could help you a lot better.
And right below, this married woman says, husband who? Oh, but she liked that comment though. It is so telling that these type of women want to disrespect their husband. It is a growing problem amongst women because of how many weak men enable this behavior. And then these type of women post these videos, other women consume it on Instagram, and then they start seeing what they can get away with their weak husbands, and the cycle continues.
Okay, so that's kind of my point. Not what he said, but this is my point, what I'm about to say. What he just did with that video is what you will wind up having happen because of the decision you made. You give somebody like that ammo because you either are that type of person or you've chosen to look like that type of person. And so what he then did was he took a shot at clearly the woman. So now you have an instance where your husband can't protect you like you want him to from a strange man. Remember the knife in the bodega, the bum? And now you have a situation where your husband is being disrespected. Now you're basically making your husband look like a weakling, disrespectful, or disrespected, and things like that. And this is not even with a real love triangle. It's with you just posting a video that has the sentiment of there being a love triangle. So as much as we can sit here and say it's just a joke, you shouldn't do it and all this stuff like that, should she have posted it? She could have made this joke to her husband and he could have been, you know, secure enough to laugh with her, but that's not how branding and marketing works, right? So that woman in particular, she's not an artist, she's not an entertainer, so it really don't matter. But if you were to do that as a married R&B singer and you think you're gonna have some kind of like wholesome connection to your audience, not gonna happen. I would not suggest that as a manager. I wouldn't do that. So again, ladies, you have something to think about. Should you have a friend zone guy? Should there even be one in your vicinity if this is the problem you're gonna deal with? And it's not necessarily, like I said, a problem you personally have to deal with. Most women that think like this, that are truly the women that want to cheat on their husbands, don't necessarily have some kind of like fist coming to punch them in the head. It's typically just chastisement and they're okay with dealing with it, but they also don't get the respect. Especially if we know, generally, most people aren't going to be like, man, I respect you, right? So if you are a woman and you want high respect and you think your husband deserves high respect and you think like you want to maintain that and you want to use that as leverage in life, then you might want to really think about the things we're looking at today.
Hello. Sure is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's breathtaking.
Are we still talking about the scenery?
I'm just having a little fun. So he's not so good looking.
Yeah, nice try.
I'm serious.
That's why I love you, Sally. Wish me luck.
You don't need it.
That Francesco is fine looking.
And those open wheels.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go get myself some coolant.
Listen, you're gonna do great today.
So this is the movie Cars. I never seen this, but they're kind of just, I guess this video is showing a compilation of all the clips of where I guess this dude's girlfriend is ogling over another car, another guy, I guess in this instance. But it's just really just to show you why this video exists, ladies, but I also wants to show you that we do see you do this. Like, again, the woman in the car was telling us you may not see anything wrong with what you're doing. Like, she's just talking to her homegirls like, oh man, that dude's hot, and they both agree. They both don't see nothing that they could disagree about with him being hot, and she's biting her lip and things like that. But I also want you to pay attention to, ladies, is that she's making very, very, very particular choice to make sure that the red car dude does not find out. Why? Because of two things, and then we're probably not gonna like this. Most dudes won't like this. Is that one is to protect the fact that if he were to find out that she's not as attracted to him as she portrays herself to be, he's going to view her differently. And women don't like hearing that. They want to be able to ogle at the dude with the big pecs and then at the same time keep the utmost respect from their husband. But in reality, if he were to find out how she really thinks about other men, it would change everything for him forever. The other side of this is that she's hiding this because she truly believes that the other guy is better and she's just a person that's sneaky. So it is what it is, right? The part I really wanted to highlight to the ladies, though, is that you shouldn't really try to feel all extra bad and evil about the feelings you have, but you really need to understand what you're doing. You really need to understand what's happening to you, because you can sit here and be like, oh man, I'm just texting a guy, or he's just buying me gifts, or he just wants to visit me and I have a husband and it's okay because nothing's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. It's like, well, be very, very clear for yourself what you're doing, because you got to understand how men perceive what you're doing, and then you got to understand how people perceive your husband allowing you to do what you're doing. So you have to be very, very clear on that. And if you're not clear on that, you're going to find yourself being in one of these compilation clips and your husband's not going to be respected, and you're going to be confused as to why he can't do great things and he don't like you anymore.
And no matter what happens, I'm gonna move on to the next rookie and forget I ever knew you.
Hi, Lightning. Remember us?
Of course, are you kidding? Who could forget? Yeah, you know, I think you look familiar. This is,
I'm Mia. I'm Tia. We're his biggest fans.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's charming.
His name is
Francesco.
So you actually seen it in the reverse right there, where the female cars came up. This is funny that it's a children's cartoon doing this. It's kind of wild that a children's cartoon doing it when you think about it. But you see the little lady car, she was jealous when the other two cars came up. And that is a real thing, ladies. Like, you're going to find yourself in a situation where your friend zone guy is going to be liked for the very same thing that you like your friend zone guy. Remember what we talked about with Sancho? How Sancho got into the closet? It's because Sancho likes you for the same reason your husband or boyfriend likes you. So it would be kind of weird if Sancho got jealous, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Because he's not the boyfriend, right? So that's why it was strange in at least that example that she felt jealous of the little super fans, because you're not his girl and you clearly don't act like it.
No wonder there's a crowd.
Wait, why do you know his name? And don't say it like that. It's 3 syllables, not 10.
What? He's nice to look at, you know.
Okay, and here's where you get the weak husband trope right here. He clearly has a problem with it, right? Remember the Bodega Story? This was the first flag that she should stop and listen and believe. But he clearly has a problem with it. He told her stop. He said his name only has 3 syllables. And you know what she did? She said, "What? I don't know what's going on. He's nice to look at." And you remember the second video? The woman said, "You're not gonna know that you're sending signals that are inviting. You don't even know you think you're doing something good and normal." But that's what I'm explaining here, is that you see the dissonance in the characters. It's something we know so well that it's written into children's movies. It's written into children's movies. But if you're a woman and you are acting just like the blue car here, and you don't know about this, then that means you're performing a behavior that even children can catch on to, right? So that's why the guy in the last video was screaming in the car so loud. He was like, "Man, these women are crazy because they got me out here fighting a bum with a knife." It's because the ladies didn't understand something that is like super basic, and it's just reading the room and understanding the dynamics between the relationships you have with people.
Open wheeled and all.
What's wrong with fenders?
Nothing.
I thought you liked my fenders.
And that primer, because wow, I have never found you more attractive. And
Lightning McQueen is the luckiest car in the world.
why, thank you.
And so you'll also get this thing where if other people don't know of this type of behavior from you ladies, do you see how they treated Lightning McQueen at the end? I finally know his name. They treated him like he had the best girl in the world. Now imagine if we all knew how she was really talking to him and telling him how other guys are hot and, you know, things like that, texting guys, whatever the things ladies do now behind their boyfriend's back. When we find out, there's a certain stigma placed on you and the boyfriend you've chosen to spend the rest of your time with. So he looks weak because he's just talking to you and you're still doing the thing like having a male friend. But you look crazy because you have a guy that you clearly don't like, at least in our eyes. Like I said, you probably don't think there's anything wrong with what you're doing, and you super love your husband and you don't think you'll ever cheat on him. Sure.
How often will you hear a girl be like, "I like sex just as much as a man," and it's like,
oh, I hear them say it all the time.
No, you don't.
You hear them say it all the time.
Because
it's a poison inside of us that we can't stop.
You hear them say it all the time, and then you also hear those same women when they're away from other women saying, "Yeah, this whole thing's very unsatisfying.
Yeah.
I found this very unsatisfying." And again, I think that women should embrace that. And I think that if women held men to a standard, men would rise to that standard. I think that men will do almost anything for the opportunity to have sex.
Yeah.
And I really, on what Chris Williamson calls good boy points, which is not even just sex, like just to have the affection, attention, and praise of women, men will walk through fire literally. Women will walk into gunfire literally, because women have this superpower over men.
So when y'all hear that, ladies, do y'all believe what he's saying? because this is a dude telling you this, so it's probably coming with a grain of salt. But what he's explaining is that there's a phenomenon of women that are on social media. He's a divorce lawyer, as the title says, but there's a phenomenon that goes on where when they get off of social media, or if they get out of the quote unquote hookup culture and things like that, or the if you're an entertainer, you're having like a lot of short relationships, like 6 month, 4 month relationships, year-long relationships. When you do that for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, the feeling you get at the end of that probably feels the same as getting off of a stage after a great performance. It probably feels like, okay, whoa, that was a lot taken out of me. What's next? Right? What should I keep doing this? Is this life? You know, you start asking those questions, right? And the reason I'm pointing this out is because as a musician, we don't think about this stuff until the fans put it in our face, right? Until they start telling you like, oh, you're getting older, when you gonna have kids? And you realize, well, no, I planned on like dropping like 5 more albums. What are you talking about? Or you get into a situation where you want to get a boyfriend or something like that, and you realize and like, oh man, this is not the kind of boyfriend that's going to help me thrive in the business industry. He is a great guy, but XYZ, you know? Or you may pick a boyfriend, he's terrible. He's just not helpful in any aspect of being a boyfriend, right? But if you do that enough times, over and over and over again, you'll start to kind of take a toll on your life. So the bigger question here is, should you have a Sancho in your life if a Sancho is going to have you in a fist fight or a knife fight with a bum at a bodega? Should you have a Sancho if people are going to just view you and respect you a certain way and treat you a certain way that you don't desire? You don't desire to have people think of you that way, and you don't want to be represented that way, and you don't want to be that person. So should you even do these things? That's the key thing we're trying to figure out here. And the only way you honestly are really going to know this is if somebody like me comes along and actually shows you some kind of perspective, some different shift of perspective. Because like I said, you could probably think everything you're doing is right. You could probably think texting that guy is cool, or because he hasn't made a move yet, you think he's respectful, or you think because you trust him to go out to dinner with him that you're safe with him. Like there's a lot of things that you're really kind of like placing a lot of conviction on without actual foundation. And that foundation comes from actually committing yourself to a person. Like instead of saying, I have a homeboy, say he's your boyfriend and actually claim him. But that also means that you're going to need to give him things that he requires of you. But it protects you and him. He's no longer a friend zone guy, so he gets respected. You're not a girl who has a friend zone guy that's clearly just playing around with you, so you get respected. But at the same time, you guys are a little bit more entitled to each other. It's kind of like if I were to do studio time for you as a musician and you didn't pay me, you probably wouldn't treat it as important if I charged you full price, you know? So just keep that in mind. And that's what he means by if you set a standard, most men are going to rise to it. Like most men aren't the bum with the knife at the bodega. Most men are going to hear you say, no, I'm okay, and back off. And then once they find out what would get a yes, they're going to work on that. They're going to try and get to it. And if a yes is, you got to be my boyfriend to take me out at night, they would probably try to be your boyfriend.
And it doesn't have to be, by the way, a dark power, like the dark feminine. It doesn't
energy,
have to be that. Like it can just be that women recognize their value and worth. And that part of the self-esteem curriculum is good. I mean, I have a real problem with the current zeitgeist. Like I was watching Temptation Island the other night, and I only have 1 episode left. I'm just saving it. You know? And as I'm watching, I was thinking to myself, you know, both the men and the women on this show are what happens when you have way too much of a self-esteem curriculum from way too early of an age, and you don't esteem anything other than the self.
Interesting.
Like you have a lot of self-esteem, but what else do you esteem but the self? Like what else is important to you? The broader society? Most of these people are not particularly patriotic.
And that's why the guy in the previous clip, or 2 clips ago, that was arguing about the bodega fight, he was so in turmoil about how the women kept telling him he's not scared, or he's scared. I need you to be a bitch right now. I need you to chill out, and things like that. The reason that was messing him up because he started to realize how they valued him. They valued him like a girlfriend. And it's a thing that we joke about with guys, because there's no real way for you to be a guy who's friends with a bunch of girls, like you're the only guy in the group, and they don't see you as either a super masculine protector of their lives, like that dude with the knife, or another girlfriend that should just bust out crying and run with them. And so you got to really figure out what position you want to play. Do you want to be the Sancho that says, no, go hide in the closet, the scarier man that I respect is coming? Or do you want to be the girl who gets a Sancho that's looking to hang out with dudes that you quote unquote think should be bitches, you think should hide in closets and things like that?
You know, your faith community? Not really.
No
They
way.
consider religion sort of like they all are wearing crosses and things, but like I don't really think these are church-going people.
Yeah.
Like, so the truth is, like, they esteem themselves and they have tremendous self-esteem to the point where it's excluding everything else because the only thing they esteem is themselves. How do you expect those people to have fulfilling relationships?
Yeah, and it's really tough. It's really tough for a lot of people. So we got one more clip, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up for you guys. But like I said, this is the lady side of, should you have a friend zone guy? Should you even really have just friends of the opposite sex just because of the expectations that are there? Like, should you place those expectations on your friends? You know, that's the real question here. And the reason I'm asking that is because you can find yourself in a situation where you have expectations of your friends that they don't want to live up to because they're your friends. They're not entitled to you, you know, so you got to be careful of that. So let's get into our very last clip of the evening, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And make sure you leave in the comments whether you agree, disagree, or maybe you just see this a little differently than me.
Okay, so I saw someone talk about how the workplace is where most of the shenanigans happen, so I'm going to tell you how I respect my relationship in my workplace. So for starters, you're not going to catch me going to a bar, you're not going to catch me going to a club, you're not going to catch me going out to a work party, you're not going to catch me spending the night with coworkers and stuff after like going out or going to an event, traveling. Like, I'm not going to go to that if my husband can't come, if he can't be involved. I don't need to be there. I'm not going to go. So if he can't be there, then I'm not going to be there.
Okay, so this flies in the face of the 18th century Italy, where she was saying that, well, they were saying that it's not fashionable for the king to go with his wife to social events. She's saying she's not going to go to a social event without her king, her boyfriend, her husband, or whatever. I wonder why.
First of all. Second of all, I don't have any of my coworkers' phone numbers that are dudes. Or like social medias or anything like that. There's like a big group chat, and if I need anything, I can go text in the group chat. I'm not going to text anyone individually.
I wonder why she won't text a man individually. I wonder why she won't do that. And ladies, this is y'all video, so I want you to just understand that this is coming from a woman. So this is not me trying to be like, oh, they'll control the ladies, red pill. It's really just to be like, there's something that she sees value in with her behavior. Should you?
So that's the second one. The third one is
she says she don't have any of their phone numbers. She don't even have their phone numbers.
I'm not going to go get lunch or like eat lunch with a man by myself. You're not going to catch me going to pick up lunch with a guy or going to get a guy lunch or anything like that.
Now, I wonder why she wants to do that, like not eat lunch with any man or eat dinner. I can give you one reason, is that usually a guy who asks you out on lunch doesn't view that as, I'm going to have lunch with you. There's this player's manual where they say that if you're just doing something cool, it gets even cooler if you invite a girl. You got to be a super player for that. But I'm going to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, this dude had no other options. So if you're going out to eat with him or he's picking you up food, he likes you.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't care. That's not what I'm going to do. That's a choice that I make. Fourth, I don't have conversations with people that are unwarranted. Like, I am nice, I'm friendly, everyone knows me, everyone is social with me. I am like very well known in my work.
And this doesn't sound like she's explaining her characteristics. It sounds like these are things that she's aware of. It doesn't sound like she's saying, I'm not friendly. It sounds like she's saying, I don't do these things. You see the difference here, ladies? Is really the point to try to drive home that you are in control of a lot of things.
But I keep all the conversations very respectful. If anyone says anything out of line, if anyone asks me to go do something that I would think would be disrespectful to my husband.
And that's the key right there. She actually believes in the things that are disrespectful to her husband, whether he's voiced them or whether she feels them or not. Because there's a thing where Sancho, he'll be texting your girl and he may have little inside jokes with her, or he may think it's cool to, you know, talk to her in a flirty way or give her gifts because he likes her. But because Sancho doesn't see anything wrong with it, it is very plausible for you ladies to also think nothing is wrong with it. But if you don't think nothing's wrong with it and Sancho doesn't think nothing wrong with it, but your boyfriend does, and you don't believe it, then you're going to find yourself in an argument with your boyfriend. You're not really going to find yourself in agreement. He's not going to say, you know what, that makes sense.
I shut it down immediately.
She shuts it down immediately.
Next, I tell my husband pretty much everything. And it's not even just like the bad things. I just love sharing my life with my husband. So pretty much like any conversations that I have, most of the time I'll share with him, unless it's like really unnecessary, stupid, and like I don't want to, or like there's no point. But he knows pretty much all the conversations, all the people I work with, all the interactions I have. And then if anyone does make a weird interaction or say a weird thing, he's the first person I tell.
And what she's doing here, well, I'll say this. Y'all probably heard two different things here again. Y'all probably heard exactly what she said. And then the other version of this, you probably heard a woman who can't think for herself. You probably think that she is clingy. You probably think that she's doing the most, or she needs to figure out how to get her own life and get her own friends and stop being all up her husband. Her husband probably thinks she's annoying. This is probably the things you're thinking, right? But I want you to realize that because that's not how she's viewing it, I'm going to explain how her husband heard what she said. Her husband heard, or is actually experiencing, her actually building a lot of trust. Because seeing that she's clearly in this car recording by herself means that he's probably okay with this. But in the instance where a guy feels like he has to know everything and he's asking, means that he does not know. This is the basis of how I look at questions. I know people think like if you're asking a question, there's some ulterior motive behind the question, but I try not to function like that. I try to say if you're going to ask a question, it's because you don't have the answer to it and you need it. So if he's asking, where are you going? Who were you talking to? What did you talk about? And you give any bit of vagary, you lose trust. You don't maintain trust with your boyfriend. I guarantee you, he believes you are now untrustworthy. And so this is the part where she's actually going to have to actually explain, but this is the part that she has to believe. She has to believe that every time I joke about not telling the truth, or I omit the truth, or he has to find out the truth through questioning versus outright just expression, like I just want you to know, you are losing trust. So if she doesn't believe that, she's going to continue to just keep losing trust because she just thinks she's right. So that's why it's important for y'all to see this, because the different perspectives we went through tonight show you that you have a lot to navigate that's really in your control. Like there's not really a bunch of stuff that's forcing you to think away, forcing you to move away. You can literally just say, I want my husband to trust me. I want people to respect me. I want people to respect my husband. And you can literally just make the decision. But if you don't believe a lot of this stuff and you're not being respected, your husband don't trust you, your boyfriend's constantly questioning you, or you feel like he's not as close to you as you'd like, these are some of the things that may be going on. And this can bleed into your career as a musician completely, because this matters.
He knows everything. I am very transparent with him. I don't keep anything from him.
And ladies, when she says I'm very transparent with him, how many of you think that means he can look through your entire phone? Gallery, hidden messages, hidden photos, DMs, all of that. How many of you think that that's what can happen? Or how many of you think being transparent is what I allow you to know? Because transparent, that word is usually misused when they talk about this. They use it a lot in the music industry where they'll say, I have a record label that's transparent, but you don't know any of the numbers. You know all the names of people and you know their phone numbers, but you don't know any of the numbers, right? So some of you probably heard, I'm super transparent. I tell him everything. You probably didn't hear, I give him access to everything because that's transparency. You probably didn't hear that.
And I just make sure that he knows what's going on in my life, what's going on at work, just so that he never feels left out. This video got kind of long, so that's my end of it for now. But yeah, that's how I keep things respectful in a workplace, because I feel like that is actually a place where a lot of shenanigans happen.
So she's actually right. And the workplace in this context would be the music industry. So if you're in the studios and things like that and you have a boyfriend, do you see how transparent you would need to be if you want that boyfriend to be respected? You know how many times we see in the music industry and entertainment industry some random man just getting disrespected in the comments because his wife is in the limelight, or she wants to say something, or his girlfriend wants to post a certain video or post a certain caption or a photo? We can't sit here and act like it doesn't happen, ladies. So we want to beg the question, should you even have male friends? Is it important to understand how you navigate female and male dynamics in the music industry? So let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna wrap this up here. This was a late night at Dame's, and I will see you guys in the next episode, and we will probably have a surprise on what the next episode is about. So I'll see you guys. Peace.